like there used to be less children in the classroom. And I don't know if that's possible because I don't know how many are at McDonald, but that was just a thought that I thought about.
And it's a good thought, and it's actually something that, I asked about when I first came. I said, did they think about making McDonald an intermediate school, so to speak, putting 4th and 5th grade there, and then Van Voorhis would have been a primary school? So, yes, it was a question I asked, and yes, I think that's one thing that the committee ought to look at. I will tell you the one stumbling block, and Ms. Gibson, what's the one stumbling block with making Van Voorhis like an intermediate school? What would be the one stumbling block? Can you think of it? No, Kingsolver. What would be the one stumbling block with making that a specific grade level school? If we said that's going to be a 4th and 5th grade school. Yes, or 3rd. What's that?
Is your jumping schools on there? Make the new key.
Yeah, an intermediate school. Yeah.
Well, some of the neighborhoods are grade specific and the developmentally appropriate.
That,
So we have an issue with doing that in some of the
yeah,
neighborhoods.
so Kingsolver's built as a pre-K through 5 school. So when you all go to visit that school, we're going to have open houses there. You're going to see toilets that are about this high off the floor. So that would be a difficult thing for us. Now we could keep the older kids at Van Voorhis, but we've got toilets there too. So it's crazy that we're talking toilets when we're talking about zoning schools, but it's on the table. So the committee will have to look at that too. Okay? Thank you. Officer.
I just have one comment for whatever committee's going to look at this, and it's kind of a blinding flash really obvious, but you're going to need, and we can probably get it through Brenda Weatherington, a current projected look at population density by housing area, because the neighborhoods, Anderson Green, South Dietz, on the McDonald side of Post are significant neighborhoods too, in terms of population. We also have the first TSC moving here from Fort Bragg. Next summer, it's going to change populations in some housing areas too. So.
Thank you, sir.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Put Brenda on the committee.
All right, hearing none. The next item on the agenda is a follow-up from the last meeting, actually, on the spring 2015, I'm sorry, 2016, getting my years mixed up here, ACT and SAT results, to see if we had received those yet, and if the schools had had a chance to digest them.
It's great. Between the last month's meeting and today, we had a principals meeting for all the principals in the entire district, so that they were all together, even though we were doing it by VTC, but we were all together in one location. We did this at Campbell by VTC with our parent office down in Benning. And we had a whole section of that on data. So Mr. Perry has got some data for us.
Each of you all a folder to look at, and I'll just kind of share what I have in there.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
And, just to talk to you a little bit, there's tons of ways to look at data, and so I just did a couple of things today, a couple of charts for you to look at, and if you have any other suggestions, hey, you want to see it this way, we'd be glad to bring it up next time and show you that. So the front page we have our 11th graders. All our 11th graders take the ASFAB, and so many of you know what the ASFAB does. It gives you a breakout. It has composite scores, and you see the first chart. And these scores in this chart are standard scores. So if you're looking at a bell curve, a standard score, the mean would be 50. So these are our average scores when you look at all 11th graders. And so you see verbal ability, you see the blue chart, and this is kind of what they're looking at. So you see the blue chart, our 11th graders in 2014, November 2014, had a total or a mean score of 53. Last year, they had a 55. So that's an improvement of 2 in the mean of those kids. And so that's what we want to see. We want to see improvement. So this November, when they take it, you know, what is it? What is it this one? So we want to see kind of like a staircase. We want our kids to be going up, not flatlining, not going down, but we want to see growth for that. So that's that. It also breaks it out by subtest, and so we look at those specific subtests as well. For instance, general science went from 54 to 55. Word knowledge, paragraph comprehension. So we look at the subtest, and then we also look at what does paragraph comprehension really mean? What's it testing our kids on? And so we look at that as a school, as teachers, and are we testing that? Are we teaching that? Are we testing that all along the way for when they get to this ASVAB that they can be successful? And there's also, there's a total score that the kids get, and so I actually have individual scores. I'm going to put that in a chart to see how those kids are doing individually. So that's the ASVAB. So if there's any suggestions on how you want to look at it, or if you have a question about can we look at it this way, let me know and we can share that. So, but these are standard scores. These are mean scores for our 11th graders. Now, we do have some 12th graders that take it. Last year we had, I believe, 19 seniors take it, but these are just juniors, so all of our juniors take it. So I thought that was important to look at.
Mr. Perry, is
Yes.
it standard in civilian schools that all students would take the ASVAB as
No.
well? So
No.
this is the mean that we're talking about is the mean of those that
Right.
select or elect to take it.
Yeah. And last year's number is like 70 11th graders. And so we're very fortunate that I believe we team up with, and Mr. Dominguez can help me, I know, but we usually, I know when I was in Cuba, we'd team up with local and they'd give it to us. They'd with our students in our schools, they help us take it. So.
Thank you.
And they get an individual report that shares like these subtests, shares what they are. And again, they get a total score and, really focus on what jobs you could get in the military. So it's excellent. So. All right, on the next page, you have PSAT scores. So when you look at the PSAT, all our 9th, 10th, and 11th graders take PSAT. And when they do, they get a report whether they are college and career ready or not. And what does that mean to be college and career ready? You see on the bottom, a 75% chance of making at least a C in your first semester of college, for instance, evidence-based reading and writing in history, literature, social science, or writing. And so that just changed this year. It used to be that they made a B, but this is the new scale, so this is what it means. And they get a report. Am I college and career ready? As a 9th grader, I scored this on the evidence-based reading and writing, am I college and career ready? So they get a report, and in that report, it's a scale. So it's red, yellow, and green. And you see our scores, these are our scores from last year. And this is kind of what they're looking at. They're looking at a chart that has red, yellow, and green. So for instance, 9th grade, if you look at the chart, 9th grade, evidence-based reading and writing, we had 100 9th graders that took the PSAT. 25% of them scored in the red range, 10 in the yellow, and 65 in the green. So 65% of our 9th graders on that evidence-based reading and writing portion of the PSAT were considered to be college and career ready. 10 of those kids were in the yellow. That means they are approaching. Now, if they're in the red, that means they're 1 grade level behind. So for instance, behind in that benchmark. So those are kids we really need to look at and focus and say, hey, what's going on with these kids? And what I had the teachers do at Fort Knox High School is identify every one of these 25 kids and figure out, hey, what class are these kids in now? What support systems have we got in place for these kids? So you see that for math as well, for 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. So when I say 1 grade level behind, so let's say 11th grader, and you have a chart there that has the benchmarks. So 11th grade benchmark for math, if you look at that, is 510. But let's say 11th grader scored 480. they didn't make the 10th grade benchmark, so they would be in red. So they're one grade level behind. So it kind of builds on each other. Does that make sense for the PSAT?
And, Mr. Perry,
Yes.
just so I understand this, I don't know if you said this, but, so the test is, my understanding, it's administered in the fall. When do you get the results?
We hope to get them in January.
So you would have minimal time presumably to address any shortfalls that you identify for new students.
Right,
Okay.
right. So it's one of those, so we'll take it October night, I believe it's October 19th this year. And so we'll track those kids all along the way. So this 10th grader, what did he score in 9th grade? We're looking for growth too. So was this kid in the red as a 9th grader and he moved up to the yellow and then to green? That's what we want to see. But we have to, so within, and good question. So within math, there's subtests, just like the previous test we talked about. There's subtests like the heart of algebra, pathway to advanced math. There's subtests. So why is it that Susie is scoring a red in math and she's a 10th grader? Why is she one grade level behind? So her advanced math skills, her algebra skills are not there. And so we're looking at that. And we're looking at local assessments too, that we can help assess the students and kind of do that all along the way, where they get to the PSAT and we know they're going to be successful, or we have checked all along the way to make sure they're successful.
Okay.
Makes sense.
And for parents, the concern always is when we're falling below the mean. And so when we talk about math,
Yeah.
for instance, if we just look at grade 11, where there were
Right.
75 students that took it,
Mhm.
40, I believe, of those students would have been
Right.
one
Well-
grade level behind. How does that track with the population as a whole? That's not a relative measurement, that's just a measurement against the subject matter, right?
What I can do is I can share next time against the, how we're scoring compared to the nation. I do know math is lower usually than the evidence-based reading and writing, and we're usually, and I had it, and I can share that next time, but usually we are very close, a little bit maybe behind or above in each one, but I can share that one too. That's a good, because that's something you definitely want to see. And as we talk about ACT on the next page, I have done that for that one. So next, as a follow-up PSAT, I'll do that, how we compare it to the nation on that. All right, and the next is the ACT. Most of our students take the ACT. We have very few that take the SAT, just because of colleges here and where our kids are going, they're usually taking the ACT. So very minimal. I want to say below 5 students last year took the SAT. So you see this chart. This actually is the mean score for the ACT for the last 4 years in English, math, reading, and science. So if you look at the blue, you can see how we're going. 4 years ago, we had a 19 was the mean, and this past year we had a 21. Last year we had a 22, and we went down to 21 this year. So you can see how that chart works. Overall mean for the kids. So for instance, 58 students last year took the ACT. And we want to increase that number. We want to make sure all our kids are taking that. So one of my goals right now is to increase that number to over 58 for sure. Yes.
Is that number of people is that the number of times? Because you can take it multiple times during the school year. So can you check,
I'll check that, but I believe
extrapolate
this
that data out?
yeah.
Because you could have a kid who took it 3 times. Is that included in the 58, or is that?
I believe this is the end of year report, so it takes their, and I've checked on the ACT. I know they used to take the highest score in each section.
Right.
So, but I believe this takes it, so I'll check on that.
Yeah, just as a clarification.
Back in my day, you could take it was the, and they've changed that so many times, like they take your last total score, they take your highest in science, and so I'll check on that.
That's changed.
Yep. And then on the bottom, there's just a chart that says, and this compares us to the state of Kentucky, because that's what the ACT is looking at with us. So, and this is, again, percent of students considered to be college and career ready. And their scale is the same as the PSAT, making a 75% chance of making C or better during the first level on a college level course, not a remedial course in college, but a college level course. College composition, we were 62, the state was 59. College algebra, we were 26, and the state was 31. And so there's definitely math, and I will tell you, math is a focus area that we're looking at. So I'll say, social science, 48, the state was 40. College biology, 26%, and the state was 30%. And then meeting all four, we were 17%, where the state was 20%. So again, close, but we definitely have some improvement to do. And so we're working on that. Our teachers are working hard. We're working on that. It's continuous skill improvement, trying to see what we're doing. So.
Hey, Mr. Perry, so it's natural when we hear a percentage, these are the students that took the test that presumably are self-selecting or identify themselves as going to college. And only 17% of those singular test events, maybe not people, but test events, have an outcome of college ready.
Right.
So as a layman, that's concerning.
Right.
I don't know if I'm looking too much into that number, but it seems to be not to be optimal.
Right. I agree. And again, you look at this assessment, you look at the state scoring 20, we want to be above that. We want to be, we want all our kids to be college and career ready. And so that's something we look at from year to year, and that's something that we need to look at. I agree.
And sir, last year in previous meetings, we discussed strategies within the high school, potentially of providing additional time or training or courses to prepare students for these standardized tests. And I know philosophically there are some issues with that because you're not supposed to train for a test and there's limited bandwidth already. And then we also understand there's not funding for that to take place, and that the college and career readiness standards include a lot of the type of curriculum that is supposed to help students, not help them do well in standardized tests, but the outcome would be that they would do better.
Right.
So I was just hoping to gain your thoughts on if there were any strategies that can be employed to address this shortfall.
Number one, the college and career ready standards, our adoption of those, I truly feel that's going to help. It's going to raise the rigor in the classrooms. Because we look at this and we look at grades as well. I mean, so if the kids are doing well in their grades and they're not performing on this, we have kind of a mismatch with that. It's a grade of A in geometry. What is that? That should tell you that the kid can master geometry at a rigorous level and be successful in these types of tests, because this is measuring students from all over the U.S. So, but as far as strategies, we do have tutoring. We do have, we're going to implement the second 9 weeks to tutoring and select these kids that need to go and invite them and pretty much require them to go, and that's where we need to do the second 9 weeks and throughout the school year too, as we've identified these kids now. So what now? And we just we have to get these kids, because research shows extra time is something that's going to help. And so in my previous schools, we've had an enrichment intervention block. We don't have that per se in our schedule inside the day, but we do have opportunities for them to stay after school, and research shows that extra time, practice is going to lead to student achievement. So that's what we have to do. So.
Thank you. And I know as a parent, one of the concerns is I'm fortunate enough to have resources such that I can get a tutor for my child, but a lot of parents don't. Right. And even having those resources, and when I look for the traditional Kaplans or other agencies like that, we're so far away from Louisville and other large cities that they just are not available here.
Right.
In Elizabethtown, the community college there they do have cyclic courses, but they're engaged with the high schools mostly in Elizabethtown, and of course with their schedule. So it's a concern that somebody that is actively looking and willing to pay, that there's not a solution. And I'm concerned about parents that don't have those resources, that there really is no solution for that.
Okay. I agree. But
Mr.
again,
Perry,
like I
is
said,
this-
we
is
look
it
at
part of
this.
your CSI plan, mathematics?
Yes, so we have CSI, continuous school improvement. Each school has a plan. Math is, we have a math goal. We also have a language goal as well as an organizational goal. So math is one of those things we're looking at because we want to make sure that our kids are successful. And, and definitely, as you can see, math is a place that we can get better. So
Could you run some DODEA numbers too
I will.
for the next meeting?
yes, I'll
See
do
how
that.
we-
I'll run some
how we
idea
do.
numbers, some comparison of how
Versus
we're doing
the agency.
compared to that. Yes. I'll do
Thanks.
that. Yep.
Thank you very much,
All right.
Mr. Perry. Are there any other questions?
Questions or anything?
I think some of the numbers are disconcerting, just because the population you have on Fort Knox is probably a higher educated level of homes as well. You've got many homes that have college degrees from
Right.
both parents, and if not one, but both. And to me, those are families that want their children to do well. So there is a very big disconnect within the test results that we're seeing, and probably the homes and the level of education that kids come from in the home. I mean, we should really be a little bit alarmed by those numbers, I think.
I agree. All right,
Thank you.
questions?
Thanks, Brian. It's never easy when you discover, Brian's new this year, and this is what he's walked into. And without pointing fingers or making points of blame, it's, the mountain is steeper than he would have liked, and quite frankly, than I would have liked. So we're going to come up with some strategies, and we'll tell you what we're going to do as we move forward. But this is going to have to be a community effort. I mean, parents are going to have to be engaged, because I agree with you, Mr. Dorian. This is not acceptable. It's just, as an educator, it's not acceptable. There's not one educator in this room that would say that scoring below the state of Kentucky in mathematics, and only 17% of our kids are prepared for college in mathematics, that's just not acceptable. Not given the fact that our kids come from good stock, and they have lots of things going. So we have our work cut out for us. Thank you, Mr. Perry.
Yes, ma'am?